Hello, welcome. This is my regular Q&A, your opportunity to ask me almost anything. I think I can answer any question, but I say almost just in case you say something that I can't ask. I was meant to do this yesterday and I actually, to be honest, I forgot. I woke up thinking it was already Monday, so here we are. We've had a very interesting week. There's been, oh my goodness, the energy of the collective is very fractured. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of pain with everything that's going on. The files, the military offences. And there's just a lot of heaviness in the collective. And I like to offer a space here which is a quiet space for you to just come and settle. Just settle. And if you have any questions or if you want me to do a breathe through with you, I'm here. This time is for you. It's not supposed to be me sitting here talking at the camera for hours or for an hour. It's just about time for you to ask questions. So I'm here to help you settle back into your body. What would you like to know today? I don't have anything specifically planned for this morning. Our messages have been a lot around divine feminine sovereignty, about releasing thoughts, about releasing the need to justify, and about feeling anchored and safe, creating that feeling of safety in yourself rather than having to look out of yourself for it, because as widows, as people and widowers, as people have lost someone that they loved, that they cared about, or even as people who have lost a way of life, we often find ourselves questioning ourselves. When we've lost someone we love, we end up feeling in a place of losing everything. And that's why we feel when we retire and we lose our job, because so many of us have built our identity around our work. And it's surprising how many people, it's not really surprising, it's just many people really have difficulty with that transition. So tell me what you need this morning or this evening. So for most of you it'll be evening. And I'll talk you through it. We can do breath work. I can just answer questions. Oh, I'm just going to close that lid for a second. The sun wasn't out. We're in because it's such a cold day. But I just tend to keep the sun off my crystals because it tends to fade them. Sorry for disappearing on you. So I will try and find a direction for this until somebody asks me a question. I talk a lot about the divine feminine, about coming home to yourself. And I know it can feel quite abstract until you've done it. When I speak about return to the body, the name of my channel, what it really is that coming home to yourself, about making space in your life for your soul to lead. Because all of these challenges that I talk about, the challenges, my challenges when like yesterday when I felt myself challenged by somebody, it's the ego responding, the ego response. And it's like, okay, ego, I see that you have responded this way. You're feeling affronted by this comment. So how would my soul respond to that? And then you allow your soul to lead. But my soul doesn't really care what anyone else thinks, what anyone else says, because my soul knows that they're sovereign. My soul has the wisdom of billions of years, and that's a concept that is so difficult for us in these human bodies to really comprehend, because what is billions of years? You know, do the billionaires really understand how much billions are? It's not something we can comprehend, because it's something so beyond anything that we've actually physically counted. You know, I look at my animals, and chickens have the ability to remember 30 faces. Beyond that, everything is a blur. So chickens, when it comes to faces, can count to 30. But when it comes to eggs, they count to 3. So if you're going to take eggs out of a hen's nest, you always leave 3. Because if there's less than 3, she knows someone's stolen one, and she'll go off somewhere else for a safer nest, because it means a predator's around stealing her eggs, and at some point they're going to kill all her babies. So she'll move somewhere else safer, but she can count to 3. Now we have an ability to count into the hundreds. We can count further, but when it gets beyond hundreds, our ability to actually conceptualize what that looks like reduces. We look up into the night sky and we see hundreds of stars. We can't see the billions of stars, but we see hundreds of them, maybe a couple of thousand. So we can conceptualize that many. But even if you're standing on a mountaintop and you're looking down at a forest, and there's this vast expanse of forest, you just see it as a vast expanse. You don't see it as trees, individual trees. You tend to see it as pockets of trees. It's just the way our brain works. So to actually understand the age of our soul, it's pretty much impossible for the human brain. And my point here is, please ask a question. My point here is that we often think in our ego selves that we need to control things, that we need to exert some control on our environment. And control on others. Whereas the truth is, the only thing we can control is ourselves. That takes time to fully integrate that, knowing that the only thing we can control is ourselves. And I know a number of you are there already. because it's something that does come as we age. You come to the realization that the outer world is beyond our control, and we just controlling ourselves isn't enough. Normally I like to do these outside, but this morning is a little bit cold, so I thought I would stay inside. I like being outside because we hear the sound of nature. There's a light breeze out there. It's just light. After the wind we've been having the last couple of days. But that light breeze is enough to curl around your feet and into your clothes and just add an extra chill and make your nose run. So I thought it would just be easier to sit and talk in here, even though it's not raining and it's not blowing a gale. Where I live here in the south of the South Island, we don't really have summer per se. We have spring with a few hot days, and then it rolls on into autumn. And then winter hits in pockets. It's strange because you'll have little pockets of winter through the winter months, but it's like we mainly have spring and autumn with little pockets of summer and little pockets of winter. And when it hits, it's hard, but then it passes, and then it comes back and passes. It's a bit like, the seasons of our own life are like that. We don't have clear seasons here. And our lives tend to not have clear seasons either. I've lived in Australia where at the summertime we have months of clear blue skies with no clouds. And it's a beautiful thing. But here in New Zealand, down in the far south, there's none that. You can have a clear sky one day and be in stormy weather the next. We can have days that are hot and you're sweating and down to your minimum of clothes, and the next day you're bundled up like this with woolies on and a windbreaker. And the temperature is plummeted by 15 to 20 degrees even sometimes. That's Celsius. So yeah, it's, the small self, there you go, like certainty. It really does like certainty. I'm being shown planning a holiday. How you carefully plan a holiday, the right time of the year, place that is going to have the perfect weather. We do everything we can to ensure certainty that things will be the way we like. We pick the right venue for us to stay in. But then things can happen beyond our control, and a freak storm can come through which is totally out of season. Or it can be a perfect holiday, we never know. But the ego loves certainty, and it really hates uncertainty. It becomes destabilized when things aren't certain. And we're living in a time of great uncertainty, and egos are very destabilized. That's why we see what we see in the world today. What's the antidote? The greatest antidote is to go within, to invite the soul to lead, to be present in the moment, to not take on things that we have no control over, to learn to respond from the soul rather than the ego, because ego is loud. Ego is loud, the soul is soft, gentle, quiet. So anyone that is loud is coming from their ego. Any blustering, loud certainty is ego. And we need ego. I'm not vilifying ego here. Because one thing that I've learned is that ego is important. Without it, we have no reason to get out of bed. Welcome. Ask questions. Help me give some structure to this evening chat. The ego likes structure. It likes to know what it's getting into. You know, that's something that I work really hard on with my titles and descriptions, and even the way that I open my videos is to make sure that people know what they're getting into, saying it in a way that people understand what I'm saying. And I decline to fall into the clickbaity stuff that would actually see my videos be seen by so many more people, because that's misaligned with my message. My message is about coming home to your body and your soul. The soul cannot fully inhabit a body if that person is in egoic spirituality. What do I mean by that? You know, when we first start the spiritual path, we often we start it because we make the decision we don't want to come back here again. I want to learn the lessons that I came to learn so I don't have to come and repeat it again. It's ego talking. So what do I do? How do I ascend? How do I rise above and learn my lessons? How do I make sure I learn my lessons so I don't have to come back? So we've often followed that track for years. We fall into the false light narrative and we try to rise outside of our bodies. We try to ascend. We try to open our third eye and our crown chakra, crown center. We work on meditations to open the third eye, because we feel that when we've opened our third eye, we will be able to ascend and become enlightened. But my guides tell me they tell me that that is not the way. They tell me that the way to ascension is through the body. The way to ascend is to descend, to live fully in your body, because that's what the soul here came here for, this lived human experience. And when we're actually trying to escape the body, we're actually ensuring that we do need to return. Yeshua taught to return to the body. Yeshua taught that the way to the kingdom is within. All of his lessons pointed to that. Never did he say that ego was evil. He always spoke to the answers lie within. And there's one thing that he said, the way to the Father is through me. Excuse my boys. The way to the Father is through me. Now, as from my perspective, I find the term father a difficult one to swallow. I've done some research on it, and that is actually the term that he would have used, simply because in those times that was the language. And he spoke in language that people of the time would understand. He spoke in ways that would resonate with people so that his message could get through. The way to the Father is through me. And what he meant is the way to the Father is inward. All of his teachings were from here, from the heart. Why do I call him Yeshua? Because that was his name. I don't use a common name for him, Jesus, because no one ever called him that when he was alive. And I have this thing about using people's right name, the name that they call themselves. Because a person's name is the most beautiful sound to the ears. So when I meet someone, I always try to pronounce their name the way they tell me it's pronounced. So that's why you will never find me calling him Jesus. I will always call him Yeshua. Sometimes Isa, because that's what the Greeks called him. So his teachings were always from the heart. And he never spoke about handing one's sovereignty to anyone or anything else. He never spoke of handing sovereignty to a higher power. He said the higher power is in here. But those teachings have been removed from the books that we now have about his teachings. They've been found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi Scrolls, the truth of his teachings. But we still don't have wide access to it. That's been controlled as well. And that's the world we live in. We live in a world where information is controlled. The narrative is controlled. We've seen a lot of that too. And I come from the place of not what can we do about it, but how do we hold the sovereignty within? And if we always go within for our answers, we ask our souls to lead, to give us the answer in this particular situation, to show us which is the best way. That part of us that is ancient, all-knowing, will lead the way. but we have to allow it first. And that is one of the most difficult things that we can actually do as human beings. So take these, I don't know if taking pods out is going to make a difference to this, but I wonder. I wonder if the sound's actually affected by me wearing those. I don't know. Let me know if that's improved the sound. Oh, no questions. I've done a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but it explains where I stand. Yeshua himself calls himself Yeshua. When he stands before me and speaks to me. Oh, thank you. It's better now. Thank you. Is that you? Is that you, Tan? Okay. The sound was a bit warbly, was it? I forgot to take them out. Or was I just too quiet? Do you have any questions? I'm just when I actually look at his teachings, he comes very strongly from the divine feminine. The way that he is, the way that he was, the way that he was spoken about was softer. I'm sorry, I already speak so softly. It doesn't help if pods make me softer. Apologies. When you really look at his teachings, they come from the divine feminine. There's masculine energy too, because the divine feminine and masculine live within us, and finding the harmony between them. But when we look in the world, we see a lot of toxic masculinity, and that's why we're feeling wounded. That's why the collective is feeling wounded. And I'm going back there again. Because there's so much toxic masculinity. It's fighting for control. Because the divine feminine is rising. It is rising. We have a warped sense of how the divine masculine and feminine work together. Because it's been thousands of years since we've seen it in balance. That's why he came back. That's why Yeshua came, to teach us. But instead his teachings have been warped to be something else. To support exactly what he came to overturn. Are we in the times of the second coming? The rising of the divine feminine? When the toxic masculine fights back, and it's not about divine feminine versus divine masculine. It's a divine feminine versus toxic masculinity. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's rife. But she's rising. And as she rises, she draws out the divine masculine. And when they stand together in harmony, they'll see a totally different planet. A planet that is governed by love, by real peace, by discernment versus judgment. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Because more and more of us are learning the divine feminine way. You know, in authentic Kabbalah, the men cannot achieve their goal without the women. It's like the women hold the answer. And the men find the answer through their work with women. I'm avoiding the word service because service is a wrong word. It's called service, but it is the wrong word because of what that means to our ego minds. Service brings in the thinking of servitude because service is servants. They serve you. That makes them lesser. And there's nothing lesser. For things to be in harmony, there is no lesser. There's no I'm better than you, or you're better than me. There's no handing over your sovereignty to someone else because you perceive them to be better. There's no sticking someone on a pedestal and calling them a guru. Just because I might be privy to some information, because my guides have told me, and I'm at a certain level of allowing my soul to lead, doesn't make me better than anybody. And just because someone is further along that path than me does not make them better than me. We're all on this journey together. And as soon as we place a hierarchy in things and we talk about somebody being more important, that's why I don't like the word ascension. Because it makes some people better than others. Oh, I'm ascended, you know. Oh, I'm better than you. No, nobody. And it's not all animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others either. It's all are created equal. All are equal. Every part of the ecosystem is as important as the next. Because that is harmony. And that is the infrastructure we are supposed to be living by. But humanity went off course some time ago. And the power over structures came into being. And the divine feminine was squashed because her power was feared rather than honoured and celebrated for how she can help lift. And I'm not saying that the feminine is better than the masculine. And yeah, the world would get on just fine without men. But we still need that energy Too much of anything is never good. There needs to be a balance, a harmony. You know, you're too much flour in a cake and it's too dry. Too many eggs or milk and it's too moist. Too much oil and it flops, it doesn't work. It's unusual for me to use a cake recipe. Come on guys, why a cake? You're making a cake. You put all the ingredients in. They're very specific. If you don't put enough rising agent in it, it doesn't rise. If you put too much liquid in it, it's too heavy and it never fully cooks. Or if it does, it ends up just being a hard lump. Don't put enough fluid in it and it's just too dry and it doesn't stick. It becomes crumbly. Don't put enough binding agent, whether that be egg or linseeds, if you're vegan and don't eat eggs. That also is crumbly. It doesn't hold together. So everything needs to be in harmony in the recipe. And when it's all perfect, you end up with this perfectly risen cake that not only looks fabulous, but tastes divine. And it's the same with us. If we have all of our ingredients in perfect harmony, we are divine. I mean, we're divine anyway, but we feel that divinity. And at the core of it, isn't that what we're searching for? That ability to feel our divinity? Isn't that why my parents dragged me to church every Sunday? To try to touch on that feeling of divinity. When all along it was in here. You don't have to go to some particular building and listen to somebody who you've put on a pedestal as being more important because they have a direct route to higher source. It's here. You have a direct route. You are in constant contact with source. You've cut the cord, you've closed the door. And because the knock is so quiet, you don't hear it. And sometimes the knock is on a door of a cupboard that's under the stairs that you don't even know it's there. You don't find it till we go in here. The first step is grounding. It's finding your root, your grounded center. Being in touch with the earth, with nature. Kabbalah, nature and God are the same. That was a light bulb moment for me when I learned that. So we ground, which is why when I do the breath, we sink right down into our sit-upon bones. When we do our healing journeys, we don't just sink into our sit-upon bones, we sink a taproot far down into the earth, grounding. And quite often we have to reground through the journey because the energy is so expansive. When my guides bring through such expansive energy, we need to keep grounding it. So we ground, we become centered, become strong in our root center. In our place of belonging, our place of safety, we become strong there. And see false light spirituality as you're working here, always here, heart, throat, third eye, third eye, third eye, third eye, crown, third eye, crown, third eye, crown. Forget about these. A little bit of this, bit of this. But down lower, solar plexus, the seat of the ego. False light spirituality ignores it, doesn't want to know about it. We want to rise above our ego, but it's not right. We want to be embodied, soul embodied with the ego. There's no fighting here. There's no who is better than the other. Your soul came here for this experience of working with the ego. The experience is the expansion that could happen. It is said that Earth is the only place that this expansion can happen, and it's such phenomenal growth. It's like playing a video game. And your avatar in the game is trying to rise up the levels. It has to face certain challenges. And it's similar. And then, the avatar in the game dies, the game ends. The avatar comes back and goes back into the game again, works through that level faster because they're at that level. But the challenges become greater and greater and greater the further up the levels that you go in the game. If you've ever gamed, you understand what I mean. And most of us have, to some extent, even if it was just the snake game. Do you remember the snake game? First one that we had on our old Nokia phones. Oh, what a wonderful time waster that was. Little did we know, huh? That's what it's like. So your soul chose to come and be in this body knowing that it had an ego to work with. Knowing that the ego would feel that it needed to lead. Hoping at some point that there would become a harmony. Not one leading the other, but working in harmony. I prefer the word harmony to balance. Because to me, harmony is like that digital painting that I did with the masculine and the feminine in the embrace and the energy swirling. And everything is just in perfect harmony. In that moment that the divine masculine and feminine are in perfect harmony within your own body is a moment of massive expansion. People can try to force this. Some people do try to force it, and they have expansive experiences. But the real problem is it can feed into the ego, because when the ego gets expanded, and it has those expansive experiences, it grasps for more because it feels good. The ego wants more. Oh, I want to feel like that again. So it goes to seek the experience again. I fell into that trap when I was studying Kapala in the early noughties because I had an experience like that which was so expansive. It was like a massive, I guess I'd call it a Kundalini awakening, but for me I just felt like every single cell in my body was vibrating at another level, and I saw things and understood things that I had never seen or understood before. It was I was like I was in connection to a much higher plane. But what it did, being in that connection with my higher self, my soul, fed my ego. My ego wanted more, I grasped for more. I wasn't ready. My ego wanted to feel that more. And I realized that that's what was happening, because it's addictive. It's like the best drug that you could imagine. The best, most addictive drug you can imagine that gives you the most amazing high and the most amazing feeling. I believe that's what cocaine does. I've never done those hard drugs, but I believe that's what you feel on cocaine. Everything is amazing. Everything is beautiful. But it goes a bit further because you have an understanding that you otherwise wouldn't know. You see other souls. The ego grabs hold of that because it's a feeling of power. When I realized that was what was happening, I worked really hard to calm that ego down, to try to step back. The feeling was still running through me, but I tried to make that space for my soul to step in. About 6 weeks it took for the feeling to pass. My ego wanted it back. And it happened again in 2016, but it was a little bit different. It's about 10 years later. Maybe I'm due another one. It's 10 years later. And I had an experience of that massive expansion. But this time I didn't chase it. This time I sat with it. It lasted longer. And it felt different. It was my doorway to true spiritual awareness. It was my doorway to asking my soul to lead. I met who I believe was my twin flame, and it just became a massive learning experience, huge personal growth, and the opportunity for some pretty amazing spiritual growth. Then, of course, when I lost her, and she passed, it was another huge catalyst. As I mourned the mission that I thought we were on, I realized now she was a catalyst for me too. Step into who I really came to be. These spiritual lessons aren't easy. They're often tough, challenging. Excuse my dog, he's reactive to everything. The bird flies past, he barks at it. Riley. You know, when we have these amazing spiritual feelings, we can grab at them. We can feel that we want more. And I'm just saying that's normal. Doesn't make you bad. I believe that there's very few bad people. There's people that do bad things. But remembering that everyone is a soul having a human experience. We look at things slightly differently. And remembering that everything that happens to a person is a soul contract gives us a slightly different perspective. It doesn't stop the feeling of pain of what's going on. But it allows you to stop going down a rabbit hole by stepping back and allowing the soul to show the larger picture. So I guess what they really want me to say is, if you are struggling right now with everything that's going on, and oh my goodness, out there in the world, I mean, I'm so insulated from it. I have to go searching for news to find out what's happening. I really have no idea. I feel the energy in the field, and it's like, okay, what's happening in the world right now that's causing this shift, this wrinkle in the energy field? And when I go looking at it, I'm just in shock. I see why people are reeling, why people are angry, why people are in fear. But notice how all of those descriptive words I've just used aren't in alignment with soul. They're all in alignment with ego. And I'm not saying ego is bad. I'll keep saying this. I'll say this forever. I'll keep on saying it. Ego is not bad. Ego points out where something's not right. And we ask ourselves, what can we do? What can we do? I spent years wondering, what can I do? How can I make a difference? I'm just one small human being. What can we do? We can shine our light. We can allow our soul to lead. We can be a beacon of light in the darkness. And yes, there's fear behind that, because so many of us were burned in the past for shining our light. It stays, it carries through lifetimes. And we've experienced that sort of trauma. It lives on with us through lifetimes. So before I close, I'm going to do a steadying breath, because we've gotten very heavy just now. Place a hand on your heart with me. One over your belly button so that you can feel your breath. Now do deep breaths into our belly. As you breathe in deep, I want you to push your hand out, because what that does is it actually, your lower hand, your hand on your belly, when we push our hand out, it makes space for the diaphragm to expand down. And I know I'm repeating this. If you follow me, you've heard this before many times. But when we expand our diaphragm, there are little pressure, you always find a bit of science with me, little pressure points in your diaphragm that send a message to your brain to say, all is well, you're safe. Excuse me, my drink is burping. Or maybe the energy. So let's go, let's move the deep breath into the belly. And we always just hold at the top a moment, because that's the natural breath. And exhale. Oh, do it like you're blowing out through a straw. Drop your shoulders. Feel your weight settling into your sit-upon bones. Feel that weightiness, heaviness. We'll breathe in together again. And out. And this time, as you exhale, throw a net over your mind and draw all those busy thoughts down into your heart. We'll do one more. Just clear the mind. Drop into your heart. Feel the warmth of your hand over your heart, and allow that to be what your heart reaches for, your own warmth. And we'll take another breath together. And out. Now see how that slow, steadying breath has steadied your body, has steadied your heart. If you feel like a little bit more, do it again. I usually find 3 is enough to bring me back to steadiness. But if I'm really upset, it can take a few more before I can even take a proper deep breath. And it's okay. Sometimes we become dysregulated. When things get too much, when there's so much happening, that we no longer know where we stand. It's like being caught in the middle. They're giving me the word maelstrom. In the middle of a storm, in the middle of a tornado, and you're standing there and there's all this mayhem happening around you. Mastering this ability to stay centered, stay in your body, doesn't mean that you're never going to be knocked off kilter. It just gives you a tool to stay steadier. When you are knocked off kilter, come back to this as soon as you're able. There are times that it can take a period of time. It could take minutes, hours sometimes, if it's a really big thing that knocked you off. The sooner you come back here into your own sovereignty, to your own inner knowing, the less the maelstrom affects you. You can stand untouched in the middle of it. So when you feel the fear rising, which is a perfectly normal response to the BS that's happening in the world right now, come back to your center. Come back to your soul. As your soul sees the bigger picture. And the petty arguments of men is just a passing blip in the life of your soul. Thank you for joining me. I hope that breath has helped calm you. If you're feeling you're in a maelstrom, may this little practice help you. And if you're not now, but something happens that knocks you off your kilter, may you remember this breath, this moment with me, to help you bring yourself back and give you the tools to do this on your own. I believe that each one of us needs to stand on our own. I would rather teach you to fish than hand you the fish. It's been my philosophy since I was cricket height, knee high to a grasshopper. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying with me. I appreciate you. May you have a beautiful, blessed day. And we'll be back at, what time is it? I think it's 8 a.m. EST with the morning message. but it will be 9 p.m. EST, I think, tonight, with the evening message. I've recorded it. I just need to take out the dog barks and the yawns. Thank you. Have a beautiful, blessed day.